were destroyed or severely damaged, leaving the island electronically blind in its own waters. Two Jamaican Coast Guard vessels were sunk in the harbor. The strikes lasted under 4 hours. Jamaica, a nation of under 3 million people with a defense budget smaller than a mid-sized American city, had been pulled into a war it never started, never wanted, and had no ability to fight. The actual target, the U.S. aircraft carrier, sat completely untouched. Cuba had delivered its message without firing a single shot at America directly. For the people of Jamaica, it was devastation that arrived without warning. The global reaction came fast and divided. America condemned the strikes as an unprovoked attack on a sovereign nation and called an emergency UN Security Council session. Cuba issued a formal statement arguing it had acted in legitimate self-defense. Jamaica had been converted into an active military platform against Cuban sovereignty, making its infrastructure a lawful target. Russia and China backed that legal argument at the Security Council and vetoed every resolution condemning Cuba. Their message to Washington was plain. If you use regional neighbors as military proxies, those neighbors carry the risk. CARICOM, the Caribbean Community of Nations, fractured. Half demanding Cuba face consequences, the other half acknowledging that America had played a reckless game. Jamaica's prime minister declared a national state of emergency and delivered a furious address, directing anger at Cuba for the strikes and at Washington for embedding military operations inside Jamaican territory without the full knowledge of the Jamaican government. Global oil prices jumped 8% within 48 hours as shipping companies rerouted away from the Caribbean corridor. Caribbean tourism collapsed. The economic damage spread far beyond the islands. Here is what nobody in mainstream media is willing to say clearly. America failed, strategically and diplomatically. Washington assumed parking a carrier group at Cuba's doorstep would produce compliance. It produced the opposite. It handed Cuba a justification to strike, and Cuba used it with surgical precision. The back-channel warnings from Havana were real. Off-ramps existed. Choosing military pressure over any form of dialogue was not strength. It was arrogance. And when powerful nations act out of arrogance, it is never the decision-makers who pay the price. Cuba won tactically and lost morally. The strikes were militarily effective and legally arguable. But destroying the infrastructure of one of the most peaceful nations in the region and sinking the vessels of Jamaican sailors who had nothing to do with Washington's decisions, none of that becomes acceptable because of a legal argument. Jamaica deserved none of what happened to it. Its government did not choose this confrontation. Its people did not vote for it. Small nations near great powers are used this way, their geography quietly weaponized, their sovereignty slowly hollowed out, until the moment arrives when they are left holding the bill. When elephants fight, the grass suffers. Jamaica was the grass. So where does the world go from here? America must choose between escalating against Cuba and risking a wider conflict, or stepping back and accepting that its pressure campaign failed. Jamaica needs rebuilding, and the international community must not abandon it once the cameras move on. Every one of us watching should sit with one honest question. In a world where great powers treat smaller nations as expendable pieces on a strategic board, is any small country ever truly safe? I do not have a clean answer. But it is the right question to be asking. If this gave you something real to think about, subscribe and share it, and tell me in the comments, was Trump's decision justified, or was it a catastrophic miscalculation? Was Cuba defending itself or committing aggression against an innocent nation? I read everything. I will see you in the next one.